Game live. Jeff Sharon here with you for the first time this season on the post game. We got Bryson Turner in the house. We got Elo. We've got Stephen Brown with us. Kyle Nash is going to join us a little bit later. Final from Waco, 30-3. Baylor gets the victory over UCF. The Bears jumped out 14-0 in the first quarter and did not look back, despite a game where UCF actually held Baylor underneath their averages. Offensively, this was the number one passing offense in the country. UCF held them to 267 through the air. They're averaging over 300. The offense just could not get going for UCF. 74 rushing yards, 151 passing yards, 225 in total. 1 of 11 on third downs. Only 13 first downs to Baylor's 24. And that all added up to an 0 for 2 in the red zone. That added up to a blowout win for Baylor. And Dave Aranda, the head coach of the Bears, who was on the hot seat, everyone said coming into this week, at least gets a reprieve for now. UCF drops to 4-4. Baylor advances to 5-4. Let's dive in. Eric Lopez is here with us. Bryson Turner's here with us. Stephen Brown is joining us as well. We've got Kyle Nash is going to join us in a little bit. But in the meantime, I want to start hand it off to Eric here on this Saturday. Man, you're coming off a bye week, and listen, it's going to be tough to play in Waco. We knew that coming in. Baylor actually, I think, better than their record indicated. They've lost some close games. They'd beaten SMU earlier this year. They were within one score of Cincinnati before Cincy put them away last week. I don't know, Eric, give me your thoughts. What happened here?
Well, there was some reports earlier this week in Orlando. There were some flight delays from Orlando, some cancellations, lengthy delays. So maybe that's what happened because the offense never showed up to Waco. I think they're still stuck in. Somebody check them out in the airports here. That's the story of the game. The offense struggled against the defense, and we talked about this, Jeffrey, in the previous podcast. A Baylor defense that has struggled all year, that has given up 27 or more points in every game except one game, which was when they beat Samford with an A, by the way, and gave up 7 points. And yet this offense couldn't do anything against this defense. And I know people are, the defense, I know got off to a rough start, but I thought they kind of hung in there. I thought played pretty well. Red zone defense kept them in at 23 points for most of the game, which I would have taken before the game if you told me 23 points was what Baylor was at. But I'm sorry. I don't care how good your defense is. If your offense isn't going to help you, you got no chance. And, props to Malachi Lawrence, because if it wasn't for him, this team would have been shut out because that's how UCF got their points. And it's disappointing. It's not disappointing that you lose this game. I think clearly Baylor has better talent. And that now we know why people are thinking Dave Aranda is on the hot seat, because they probably should be better than what the record is. But the disappointing thing is you had a bye week. Baylor didn't. Baylor's the team that's kind of been struggling, and you just didn't take advantage of it. You struggled, and you took steps backwards. And we'll see. Now you got a short week against the Houston team that didn't show up in their game today against West Virginia. They got some
that was
internal
a
issues over
shocker
there.
in
Right.
Houston today. 45. In case you haven't seen, folks, sorry, Eric, I just want to get this. West Virginia, who UCF made mincemeat out of 2 weeks ago, goes into Houston, and knocks off the Cougars 45-35.
Yeah, that's not a good result. That's not a good result defensively. So we'll see. Overall, pretty bad performance. And I think everything on offense deserves blame.
Yeah. It's been rough. This is surprising. I apologize for the echo. Kyle Nash is back in here with us. Again, 30-3. Here's the play that I thought was the key one. Big plays. This is on the total stats for both teams. Baylor had 11 big plays. That's rushing plays of 10 or more, passing plays of 15 or more. UCF had 2. So that tells you what you need to know. Bryson Turner, give me your thoughts on this.
Yes, unfortunately Baylor was able to capitalize wherever it was able to. I mean, we still managed to get 9 tackles for loss compared to Baylor's 2, so there was something working with the defense at some point there. But it's like you said, Jeff, the offense just was not able to work. Taven Jackson went to 18 of 33. I don't like that type of completion percentage, especially when you have to face Sawyer Robertson, one of the best quarterbacks in college football right now, by the look of it. And then you 2 interceptions doesn't help. Miles Montgomery was capped fairly well. They didn't use Jaden Nixon all that much. That's something I've noticed people looking at is that Nixon wasn't used at all. I know he's more of an explosive playmaker, and that's more like his role, maybe more of a change of pace back. But I feel considering the position that the UCF offense found themselves in, you maybe want to try to put him in and get an explosive play in there because as you said, Jeff, a lack of big plays has certainly did not do very well in their favors there. They also favored Dwayne Thomas Jr. and Dylan Wade on offense, while Baylor, meanwhile, as they have all season, have spread the ball out quite a bit. They did favor Hawkins a bit, and to the defense's credit, they covered him fairly well. But Michael Trigg and Kobe Wilson just absolutely torched the secondary quite a few times, and even other receivers still got involved as well. So overall, I would consider this a mostly bad loss. A lot of aspects on this team just did not work today, not to mention this road struggles, as you've said. But now this is where you start to get nervous because now we have more ranked teams left to face than no ranked teams, at least currently right now.
And don't worry, Houston won't be ranked after this week.
Yeah, probably not. But
yeah, that won't last. That didn't last long.
Let's just say like they were ranked at one point, and so now you think about, oh man, you still need 2 wins to get bowl eligibility, and where are you going to get them? Because okay, Oklahoma State, cross your fingers, knock on wood, that seems a very winnable game given what we've seen out of the Cowboys this season. But now we have to get a win either on the road in Lubbock, and that's going to be a tall order, given what we saw on the road here. Or you have to beat Houston in the space game, who is going to be very, very mad and on their toes. And oh yeah, it's the space game. It's a game that UCF has not lost yet, so there's that added pressure as well. So the pressure's on, I think, at this point. This is the last game of the last game of the season where you could argue that maybe we're not nervous about bowl eligibility just yet, but after this, I mean, this is where it's like, okay, now we might be getting a little bit nervous here, if not a lot nervous.
Let's get Kyle Nash in here to talk about this as well. Kyle, just make sure you check out his post-game analysis as well on Night Class. Kyle, this one was a rough one. Sawyer Robertson, a little bit, actually a below average game for him at 267, 3 touchdowns, though he played pretty well. Taven Jackson, 18 to 33 quarterback comparison for you here, 151 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Miles Montgomery led UCF with 50 yards rushing. What is going on with this offense? Hold on, Kyle, you're muted. Let me unmute you.
A lot of box score, what have you will, but for me, what was really worrying, trying whatever word you want to use, is the fact that it felt like I mentioned the reference in the Making the Great article on the Black and Gold Banneret.com, that it felt like they were pasta chefs and they were throughout the entire game throwing pasta at the wall just to see if something would stick. I don't know whether it's desperation to get the first streak of Big 12 wins. I don't know if bowl eligibility is creeping in. I don't know if they were freaked out more immediately being down 7. not taking nothing from Sorensen, but let's not act like Michael Trigg did not save his keister on multiple occasions, make some fantastic catches for a large man. Eric and I
be an NFL roster.
That's adorable. Trigg is the guy you need to watch. Making an NFL roster, not just being a camp arm like Sorensen will be. Go up and get it being his main attack, though he did have one excellently placed ball down the field. To take away from these receivers and give Sorensen all the flowers is a mistake if you're a Baylor Bear fan. However, the Knights, it's deeper than, and I know regularly we have the conversation, how good is the quarterback room? Are these receivers right? The running backs, the coaching on offense looks confused and desperate, and I have no idea what to do with any of that. Based on what I saw with some of these play calls, direct snaps, things like this that maybe we hadn't seen before, but clearly looked like they were reaching for answers.
Yeah. I mean, that was. It feels like there's what's missing is the ability to attack down the field. Dwayne Thomas was UCF's leading receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he would be a key factor in this game, but we saw Marcus Burke was out early.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line, I think they were giving Taven Jackson enough time. But it seems like the receivers are not getting open now.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as Baylor's defense allegedly was, and that was actually stopping the run. Let's be honest. They're a weak defense stopping the run. You open your offense with 4 passes as your first 4 offensive plays, not counting the punt as that's a special teams play. But I didn't know what to make of that. Obviously, Jeff, you mentioned they felt like they were covered. I'll agree with that too. The other guys get the scholarships too, as you like to remind us regularly, Jeff. But I feel like it felt to me that there was just more urgency on the Baylor side. I know they had, what was it, at least 3 personal fouls for, late hits and other things that were plays of just, aggression being let loose, where I know all game, what is it we've said that this team has, guys, is heart. I didn't see as much of it today. The defense, I'm going to set aside. Bryson mentioned the stat of the 9 tackles for loss, but yeah, I mean, 1 for 11 isn't going to do it on the money downs, guys.
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I would say offensively, they just need a better roster. And they're going to have to figure out a way to how to get talent here on every position. No position is unscathed here. Receivers, backs, offensive line, you name it. They're going to have to upgrade. There are no playmakers here that can make big plays, and that's not going to get it done in Big 12 action. And the staff's going to have to figure it out, whether it's a combination of recruiting and retaining players, but you're also going to have to spend money. And you're going to be at a full share now. So you're going to have to spend money, because if you look at the teams that are winning in college football, what they all have in common is they're spending money. So this roster is a rebuild. It's a transitional. But boy, I mean, Bryson, I know you brought up Nixon. I don't think it matters with Nixon with that offensive line. I just don't think it matters. They have got to get better. This is an offense that's flawed. I think defensively they've hit. I think defensively they're fine. I just think offense, and that's the disappointing thing, is I think this is one of the better top half Big 12 defenses. So I think that's the big positive from this year. But I think this offense is definitely not at Big 12 level, may not even be an American Conference level at the way they perform. And some of that could be explained, but it is what it is. And that's the disappointing thing, is I never thought they would be held to 3 points against that defense. I'm stunned. I'm flabbergasted by it, to be honest.
Oh, look, I know you brought up Jaden Nixon there, Eric, but I want to dispute. Obviously, you say that no one on this team can make big plays. Jaden Nixon can make big plays. The problem is they only
not
gave
against real teams. Not against real teams. He hasn't.
Well, he hasn't had the opportunities to do it in big. He hasn't had the opportunities to do it in big though. He got 3 carry attempts today. You saw Miles Montgomery. He was able to get around the edge a few times. You give Jaden Nixon some more opportunity, then he can be able to do that too. But they're not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, Oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Stephen.
Go ahead,
That was
Stephen.
yours.
Yeah,
Go
that
ahead.
was yours.
Go ahead, Stephen.
I would just say today just felt like a big, lot of missed opportunities on both sides of the ball. Defensively, in the first half, there were multiple 3rd and longs where UCF could have got off the field, and they were Baylor was, to their credit, able to convert those, keep their drives alive, keep UCF's defense on the field, which, like we said, played good today, but the offense just gave them no help at all.
Yeah. And for the record, I agree with Bryson. I think Nixon should play more and get more touches, and maybe that's what you need to do down the stretch, because you do got to play till next year. So I'm not suggesting that you're wrong, Bryson, on that.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the bright spots here. I thought overall, all things considered, even after the garbage time touchdown earlier or late in the 4th, Eric, you alluded to this earlier. 23 points. The defense more or less kept UCF in the game here, and I think we need to give Alex Grinch here some credit. Baylor's whole game plan was to blitz them off the top and score early, and they did. Okay, first drive went 75 yards. Then they got the short field and went up 14-0. But after that, until the garbage time touchdown, they gave up 9 points. And, like we said, that puts the team in a position that put the offense at least in a position where they could have mounted a comeback, but it just wasn't in the cards.
No, I agree 100%. Like, I know Baylor hit them with the first punch or two, but they adjusted, kept them to field goals. There was a missed field goal, kept this more competitive than it was. I don't even blame the defense for the last touchdown. That was off of an interception where Baylor had the ball in the short field. I'm not discouraged with the defense at all. In fact, that's the bright spot. If we go back and review this year, if this team makes a bowl game, it's on the backs of this defense. With Alex Grinch doing a great job, I think they've done a good job hitting on personnel and fixing this defense. And certainly the guys up front have done a good job. Everybody's done a good job. So I think, yes, that is the big positive. I think you have a defense I think can win the Houston game. Like, one thing we've definitely learned is this is a team that has to win a certain way. This is not a team that's going to win a 41-35 game. It just isn't.
Right.
They're going to have to win a 27-17 type game. And the offense just isn't playing complementary to this defense. If the offense would just stay on the field, which they didn't the entire game. I know you can nitpick that Baylor converted some 3rd downs. I don't know what the final stats were, but that's going to happen. Baylor has talented players on offense. A lot of teams in the Big 12 have talented offensive skill. So I don't think, and especially in this landscape of college football, you can expect the defense to shut everybody down. It's just not going to happen. The rules don't allow it anymore. It's a very favorable offensive rule league for the sport. So to me, the defense has been a huge bright spot.
We still don't have spot fouls for pass interference, Eric. Come on.
Thank God they don't. Or
Come
it'd
on.
be even worse. Yeah, they also stop the clock after every first down, which is absurd. So I think the defense is fine. I think the talent's there. They just got to fix the offense. And I think hopefully you evaluate, you hit on some guys. I agree with you, Bryson. Go ahead and play Nixon more. He's got to be part of your future. Montgomery's not. And so you've got to play towards your future next year and find out who you could build around this offense for next year and what you need to address in the offseason. But I think the defense is absolutely a bright spot. And I think the good news is long-term, UCF has the recipe to compete in the Big 12 in football. We always said when UCF entered the Big 12 is, hey, they may have a chance to be the best defense or one of the best defenses in the Big 12. I think that is still true, and that's been proven this year. You just have to have an offense, which is kind of wild to say.
I want to get some thanks to the folks who logged in and sent us some stuff on the chat. Flies comes in. Do you think that the bye week helped or hurt us?
I went to the press conference on Monday and I asked Scott about that. And he said that you can get good and bad with the bye week because, you obviously get more time to prepare for an opponent, but he also said that extra time can make you overthink things. And I think we saw that today with the offense trying to, get creative with those new looks, the halfback direct snaps. I don't think we've seen much of that up until this point. this season. And we saw two botched snaps that put UCF behind the sticks, which was a common theme all day. UCF being behind the sticks and not being able to put themselves in a good position to convert on get first downs. So I think it's easy to say after the game that the bye week did hurt them. It's because that's what Scott said. Too much time can make you overthink. So his words, I think he did overthink because of the bye week.
I wanted to bring this point up here. This is from SKDC 96. It said lack of talent and discipline is so obvious now. I don't think it's lack of discipline, actually. I think the discipline's actually been getting better. 50 yards on penalties. Baylor actually gave up more yards on penalties than UCF did. I think it came down to at certain points a sort of lack of chemistry. And when you have 70 some new players, is that right? How many was it, Eric?
Yeah, it's 70. The one thing that
I know. Look, we're in week 8, but you know something? That's still. It's hard to develop chemistry over the course of the season when you when you have a new coach. I mean, this is part of the. This is something I told a friend of mine earlier today when they asked me what's going on. I said, the part about rebuilding that sucks is the rebuilding. Go ahead, Bryson. You were going to say something.
Yeah. Yes. I want to give SKDC a little, because I can see where he's coming from here, because all 8 penalties that UCF had were on offense, by the way. So that's another feather in the cap for the defense. They played a very clean game, no penalties at all. But on the offensive end, you had 3 false starts, 2 delay of delay of games, and then a chop block and an illegal motion. Credit 1 holding, that's good. But I mean, unfortunately, the penalties add up, and if you have 5 penalties that are from on the line in any form, false start or delay a game, then I can definitely see why you could say the discipline is something that you need to work on, because that many penalties on the line like that is something that comes back to bite you later.
See, the discipline part. Oh, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, to back up Bryson's point, because Bryson, you were at the same presser that I was. Scott Frost has talked about that. He's not been happy with the offensive line and committing false starts, especially during long drives. It's been something of a pattern that they've picked up, and we've addressed this. This team doesn't have big playmaking offensively. So the last thing, if things got to go right, you can't shoot yourself in the foot, and this offense does tend to do that with penalties. So I think that's a valid point. I don't know if that's a discipline thing. I think that's just more one of those things where, again, execution. I don't know if that's like lack of discipline. Yeah. The coaches certainly have addressed that, so I will defend the coaching team.
Yeah, when I hear somebody talking about discipline, to me that's things like not enough men on the line of scrimmage. It's personal fouls.
Well, Baylor, I would argue, is the more lack discipline team.
That's what I thought. Baylor was the UCF was the more disciplined team. False starts, okay, yes, I get it, but there's a number of factors that can play into that. For example, if you're a right tackle, right, and you're getting beat by the left defensive end, you're going to try and get out of your stance quick. They're going to try and do some stuff to make you move early.
Yeah.
And so that could be like an anticipation, but I don't think that's lack of. No, I don't think that's lack of. That you necessarily can only chalk that up to lack of discipline, right?
Yeah, that's true. And Baylor's defense specifically is the one that has the discipline things. They had 2 unnecessary roughness calls and a pass interference, which gave UCF a golden opportunity, I think, to move forward there. Like 3 15-yard penalties is definitely not one you want to do, and Baylor's defense has definitely been something they've been struggling with so far this season, which honestly makes it even more mystifying about how this offense just was not able to take advantage of that and take advantage of that situation. And good point, actually, Jeff, with the anticipation thing, because I feel like there is a bit of a encouragement of aggressiveness in certain forms. I would say, and that in that type of instance, yeah, I can see why false starts happen. It's just you got to be able to train player, or at least try to help players along with, staying maybe poised is the right term, not disciplined, but poised maybe might be the right term. But penalties, just like penalties can stack up, and that's just
could also be a lack of confidence thing. You feel like you're about to get beat. You just kind of feel like you got a hold, or you're trying to get a head start and things like that. So look, again, this was all a rebuild. Jeff brought it up. And I think the good news about this, if you're the coaching staff, you're taking notes. So by the end of the year, no matter what happens the rest of the way, you're taking notes on what you need to address on this roster. That's, to me, that is a big part of it is, okay, what do we need to address? Where do we need to get better for year 2? And I think that's, we're seeing it clear that it's more so, and I think the positive is it's more so on the offensive side than the defense, whereas when you guys agreed before the year, a lot of people wondered about the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. Now, at least the defense, I think, has answered a lot of things positively. I'm not saying there's not some things they have to adjust and, probably add personnel. You always have to add personnel. But the positive is I don't think this team this year will leave with as many questions at the end of the year as we thought they might have in August, where we thought, man, they might have a lot of questions on offense and defense to build. No. You've actually got something that you've built on defense. Now it's, okay, how do we fix the offense and build that offense up into the year 2 and beyond?
I'll just say you got, on defense, you talked about personnel. These are the people that Alex Grinch is slated to lose on defense from graduation. You have Nigel Lee Kelly, Philip Dunham, Cole Kozlowski, Malachi Lawrence, Kelly Lawson, Jaden McDonald, Jaden Williams, and that is
and
Isaiah
Reed today, by the way, too.
Yeah,
that's not a lot. That's not a lot in the big picture. And again, this staff has shown, at least with year 1, that they hit on some of the defensive personnel that they acquired and they added. So I'm confident they could do that with Alex. I think the bigger question is just keep Alex. How about that? We just need to keep Alex Grinch on the staff and let him build his defense. And I think the reason I'm emphasizing that, remember, everybody was complaining about this hire. Oh, look what he did. And I said to people, this guy can coach. And then the mistake he did is he hung out with Lincoln Riley for too long, who doesn't know anything about defensive evaluation. So it's a credit. No, I think it's a credit to Frost for the hire and everything. And so again, that's why I feel confident. I think our defensive staff as a whole has done a very good job. And I think in a way we're ahead of the schedule on that. And I think offensively look, as frustrating as this is, and I'm frustrated with it, it was frustrating to watch. We kind of knew in August this offense would struggle in reality. So maybe we shouldn't be as shocked. Maybe we're surprised. I think that the surprising part is it came against this opponent that has struggled defensively all year. And you thought after the West Virginia game and the bye that you could take advantage of that, but didn't happen.
Yeah. Just a couple of scores that I wanted to pass along in case you guys were keeping an eye on things, and this will fit into the next thing I wanted to ask you about, which I know Eric wants to talk about too. SMU just beat Miami in overtime 26-20. Texas beat Vanderbilt 34-31. We talked about West Virginia beating Houston 45-35, and we got Houston for the space game next week. I'm still shocked at that game. What it looked like those two teams got flipped on watching part of that game. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit, Fry's brought up an interesting point. He said, I'm almost glad I didn't watch that game. And I'm guessing the reason why is because he's probably a YouTube TV subscriber. And the game was not televised on YouTube TV because they're involved in a spat right now with Disney. And all the Disney networks, all of the ESPN, which includes the ESPN networks, are not available on YouTube TV. I was able to get a 1-day pass on Sling to watch the game, which I didn't realize you can do that until today. But this sets up a bit of an interesting scenario because there's some other games later today that we won't be able to watch. Eric, is there any movement on this? And I'm looking to see who's televising UCF in Houston next week.
It's FS1, I believe. That's an FS1.
FS1, okay. So,
yeah.
At least there's that. But but this is an interesting scenario right now with this Disney. Basically, this is Disney versus Google, right? Because Google owns YouTube TV.
Yeah, and I think ESPN is saying you're going to give us what we want, or we're going to tell everybody to go ahead and buy the app, which is what I have. I haven't ESPN Unlimited. I have cable, so I don't have this problem. So sucks for all of you. That's what it is. So will it get resolved? Who knows? I don't know. That's I would say you would think it would happen. It would happen maybe Monday Night Football is usually the pressure cooker. I don't think college football, with all due respect, as popular as it is, that's not a sport. That's
not even the day of Georgia, Florida here in the Sunshine State.
Have you seen Florida play? No, that's not at all.
I don't know which Florida team we're going to get, but anyway.
Not a good one, probably. But even if it is a decent one, nobody cares. It's Monday Night Football is the one that, if it's going to happen, it's going to be because of Monday Night Football and the NFL. People want to see their NFL. The Cowboys are on Monday night. People like to see them either win or lose. So if anything happens, it wouldn't surprise me if it happened like on a Monday right before Monday Night Football. But who knows? Both sides might hold out here. So who knows?
Stephen Brown, you were keeping an eye on things. I want to get a little bit more of your impressions on how, on what we can look forward to at this Houston game, because I'm very curious about which Houston team are we going to get on Friday, right? Is it going to be the same team that just laid an absolute egg on their home field against West Virginia, or that's Willie Fritz coaching that team now? Are they going to come out ticked off on Friday and smell blood? And then what UCF team do you expect from this? Because this is the kind of loss that can really either deflate a team or light a fire under their rear ends for the home stretch. What do you think?
Right. Well, we obviously know about UCF in the space games and how that just really gets them fired up. So I do think UCF will come out with playing better on offense than they did. I mean, we saw what they did against Arizona in one of the previous space games, putting up 50 on them. So I would expect UCF's offense to clean some things up, like those penalties we mentioned, the false starts, and another chop block today. I've never seen so many chop blocks watching UCF football. But as for Houston, Bryson mentioned it before we came on. UCF could blow them out. Houston could blow us out. It could go to overtime, and I wouldn't be surprised any way. It's I think it's a very difficult game to judge, with UCF blowing out West Virginia in the previous weeks, and then West Virginia coming out and beating Houston. So it's very, very difficult game to predict. But I think the space game has to give UCF an edge with that history.
I mean, instead of the space game, it should be called the Twilight Zone game, because it feels like we enter an alternate dimension every season with the space game. It doesn't matter what else is going on the rest of the season, but the space game is just where it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the season. The space game is its own entity, and it doesn't care what else has gone on during the season.
Well, if we're going to give space jerseys all this credit, does that mean we should just then burn down today's jerseys, because those jerseys today didn't help at all in the performance? So let's just throw them away. Never used again. We're going to go all jersey here. The shocking part about the Houston West Virginia is the defense had been playing well for Houston. It gave up a ton of points. So
45 points.
If you're UCF, you would hope that gives you an encouragement at home that you could bounce back, play well, move the ball on them offensively. I think we all would agree. I think we kind of feel like Houston, Willie Fritz maybe has played over their heads a little bit. That being said, we're not one to talk. We can't. So I don't know. I really don't know what to expect, except UCF's, at home it's different than being on the road.
I'll give you this little Matt. Now, I don't know what sort of numbers go into ESPN.com's matchup predictor. There's no line for the game yet, but right now it is giving UCF a 64% chance to win.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're at home. Home teams usually, but UCF will be favored in that game. I don't think that's a question.
You think we'll be favored?
Oh yeah. At home? Yeah. I mean, it's not like Houston's a juggernaut, especially after that performance.
7-2, 4-2 in the Big 12 against 4-4.
Who have they beaten? But I think the question is, the jury's out on Houston, especially after this game. Who have they beaten that would suggest, they beat Arizona State, okay, who, by the way, just lost their quarterback for the year. But Houston, I don't think is in the class of Texas Tech or BYU, which is why, to Bryson's point, I think it was earlier, even Steven's point, this Houston game's a must win. If you want to go bowling, you have to win this game. You're not going to beat Texas Tech in all likelihood unless Texas Tech no-shows. And you're not going to beat BYU on the last game of the season in Provo unless you bring in Ava Armour with you and have 30 kills to upset the football team. Who, by the way,
Shout out to Ava Armour.
I'm all for it. Her dad.
Shout out to Ava Armour, UCF volleyball, man.
All right, if you bring Ava Armour because her dad played in the NFL with the Broncos, maybe I'll change my tune. But outside of that, not sure we're gonna win in Provo in football like we did in volleyball. But that so to me it's Houston. And look, if you beat Houston, you should beat Oklahoma State. You go 6-6. That's what the majority of us thought, except for somebody that changed his pick after the North Carolina game.
Oh. Young and stupid, Eric. Young and stupid.
You got hyped into the Bill Belichick hype.
You got sucked into it, Stephen. It happens.
Seems like UNC did.
We've all made that mistake, yeah.
Well, hey, Carolina.
Although I have to give Belichick credit because he did beat my Syracuse Orange last night, but that's another thing I'm not.
You got a lacrosse player at quarterback though, so that doesn't really.
Yeah, well, that tells you exactly where Syracuse is with their quarterback situation. All right, so the television situation for UCF against Houston again, it will be on FS1. It's Friday at 8 p.m. Against for the moment, number 22 Houston. I want to come back to a little bit because after that, after we have 2/3 of the season done now, 4-4. On pace for 6-6. I know, Eric, you were saying at 13 Texas Tech, at 10 BYU, extremely little chance. But I don't want to go quite so far because we haven't seen either of those teams really lay an egg just yet. And I don't know, call me the optimist, but I just would not be surprised if either of those teams did happen to lay an egg at home against us. And then the question is, can we take advantage of that? Are there vulnerabilities in Texas Tech and BYU that we could exploit?
Wouldn't hold my breath on it. Because Texas Tech especially has the best roster by far in the Big 12. Now, they've had some injuries on the quarterback position.
Right.
Do they take them lightly? There's a
what Houston did with West Virginia today.
Right. But what have we seen from this offense that would suggest it's going to take advantage of that? That's the problem. I think the defense can handle themselves on the road at Tech and BYU. That part wouldn't surprise me. It's just I just don't have confidence in this offense doing it on the road, especially.
Yeah, but the offense has definitely struggled on the road, and we've talked all day about it, how bad Baylor's defense was coming in, and to only put up 3 points against them, I just don't see going into Texas Tech. I think their defense obviously is much better, so it'd be really tough for them to lay an egg against us.
The only loss that Texas Tech has had this season was a road loss to Arizona State. And in that game, Sam Leavitt threw for over 300 passing yards. And Arizona State went and converted on 4 field goals. If this team has done, from what this team has shown, they are very aggressive with going for it on 4th down and not taking the points. I feel like that we honestly would have been in a better position to compete if we'd taken some points.
I agree with you, Bryson. I agree with you. I thought that was panicked. I thought I would have taken the points, settle your team down. I think that's a good call on that.
And the point is that from what I've seen with this UCF team, they're not what Arizona State was when they faced Texas Tech. And even then, Arizona State was home in that game. We're going to be in Lubbock. So I get what you're saying, Jeff. I understand that Texas Tech or BYU haven't laid an egg yet, but if they were coming to the bounce house, maybe I would change I would buy into that a little bit more. I mean, we've seen teams lay an egg at the bounce house before, but given that we've now lost 7 straight matches on the road at this point, even if they do lay an egg at home, Texas Tech and BYU, I just don't know if UCF would be able to even capitalize on that if they do lay an egg.
Yeah, that Texas Tech Arizona State game was kind of a weird. I did watch that one, but I didn't look at the box score afterwards. Will Hammond, who was the quarterback for Texas Tech in that game, was 22 of 37 for only 167 yards.
Morton was out with an injury in that game.
Yeah,
Morton,
and he had to run for 47 yards on 15 carries. He was their leading rusher in the game too, which I think speaks more to what Arizona State's defense was able to do against Texas Tech than anything else. All right,
Texas Tech and BYU play next week, by the way, in the regular season, so you'll get to see them go head to head.
Yeah. Oh, where's that game going to be on TV?
I don't know if it's been announced yet.
Has it been announced yet?
You can double check.
I've
not picked the TV listing. That's a good one.
Could be a
preview of the Big 12 championship game. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, that Miami loss you just said is good news for the Big 12 in being a multi-bid league for the playoff. That's a big, significant plus for the Big 12 to possibly get a second team into the playoff.
Yeah, that's a big win for his Rhett Lashley.
Yeah.
Big win for him. Go ahead, Bryson.
No word on BYU and Texas Tech's television.
6-day
hold. That's right. Yeah. Interesting. Texas Tech right now trailing Kansas State 7-0.
Oh no! Why
Well, road doesn't look like Texas Tech's a road team either.
Right. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's not helping your playoff implications, though.
That's a trap game right there. You know, if you're looking forward to playing BYU in Lubbock and then you overlook the Cats in the Little Apple. Morton's getting the start tonight against for Texas Tech. They get Eric. All this stuff that you keep telling me about all that money that they've got in Texas Tech, and they can't find a quarterback.
Well, I think they can. The problem is they can't stay on the field. They've had to use 3 quarterbacks. We, of all people, can relate to that. How many quarterbacks we've used?
Yeah. Speaking of 3 quarterbacks, I don't think it's helped because I've thought back to the preseason narrative that was being talked about with the 3 quarterbacks, where like if you have 3 quarterbacks, you don't have one, that sort of thing. And I know all 3 quarterbacks have been needed because of all the injury bug that is going around, but it's performances like that out of Taven Jackson where you kind of see the point that was coming out of that. Like I think, like you said, Eric, that all the offensive positions need to be looked at and be improved or switched out or whatever for next season. And I think a quarterback. I just lend some credence to that from performances like this.
I'm not willing to go there just yet, Bryson. I'll tell you why. I don't think Taven's been right since that conference opener. I know he's been out there, and he's been on the injury report. He's been off of it. He has not been right since the conference opener.
The AC sprain, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where like he took a beating, and I don't think whatever's ailing him is really. I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, in the course of the season, injuries build up that you just don't hear about until maybe the end of the year, if at all. And he just looks like he's been, his accuracy was there, but like a couple of times, including the longest pass completion of the day to Dwayne Thomas. But the accuracy's been there, but it feels like the zip hasn't been there on his pass.
Yeah, I think that's the reason I'm thinking that. And yeah, you're right. I didn't think about the injury, so thank you for the injury for reminding me of that. Because none of the 3 quarterbacks are probably at 100%, so that's definitely a problem with that as well. But like you mentioned,
Cam Fancher was listed on the injury report as out today, by the way, and so he wasn't even available. I'm sorry, Bryson. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But he has a zip to him that Taven does not, and I think that if we've learned from Scott Frost quarterbacks is that a prototypical Scott Frost quarterback, I think, has a zip to him, or at least the best best ones can do that. And like you said, I think because of maybe it's because of Taven's ailments, the zip isn't really there. And so he's the quarterback that you're able to use for right now because he's the healthiest, best one you have. But at the same time, we saw Davi Belfort in action against West Virginia. Kane Archer is coming in. I do think there is I do think a quarterback competition over the spring and the summer going into next fall is looking to be in the cards, I think, at least based on what we've seen right now.
Well, and to piggyback, Bryson, I think they're going to bring in a quarterback in from the portal. The question is, are you bringing them in to compete for the starting job? Or are you keeping them in for numbers, just for depth? Either way, I think they're going to bring in. That's why I'm in favor of playing Jackson as long as he's healthy, because you do need to know how you feel about him going into next year. And if he is somewhat banged up, although if you're banged up, why are you running an option with him, which did not look good at all? Don't run the option.
I felt it was weird. I thought there was did you all think they ran an inordinate amount of options to me? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I just didn't like that, and the pace of it was very odd. But nonetheless, you do have to bring in a quarterback, if nothing else. What happens to him? Like, you can't depend on a true freshman to be ready to go from day one. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think either way, they're probably going to bring in a quarterback from the portal. The question is it someone that they believe should be starting, or is it for depth? Because there's a difference, and that may be a difference in how much aggressive you are in the portal.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring it down the home stretch here. So once again, the game against Houston is set for Friday night, and it will be on FS1. Of course, we're hoping that whatever happens the rest of the year, not that it will impact the Houston game, that the situation between Google and Disney gets worked out. But I just want one last little bit. Fries Flies pops in with his prediction on the line. He says UCF by 4.5.
That's fair. 3.5, 4.5, something.
Think
like
so?
That. Yeah.
Steven?
I don't know. I'm not a big spreads guy. But I think it's like
hang out with Eric, and that'll and he'll set you right.
I do look at them though, because it's interesting situations. Like, I think something kind of similar to that, it was Texas being 3.5-point favorites today against Vanderbilt.
And that was a big jump late. Once the word got out that Archie was playing.
Yeah,
that number jumped, and
one of those
people
situations
always know.
Where like the team with the better record is for some reason underdogs, and then that always plays a factor into it. So those people up there in Vegas obviously know a lot more than I do.
They didn't build all those casinos in the middle of a desert by being wrong a lot,
Yeah,
the big question that I have for the game from a broadcast standpoint: will we finally get Tim Brando to make his bounce house debut? That's the question I have. I don't know the answer.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
I don't know, but we'll see.
There's
a chance. Will the iron be kind and bring us Tim Brando? And Jeff you're gonna have to interact with him, Jeffrey. Interact with Tim Brando.
Tim's a busy guy. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll figure things out once the 6-day window happens. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, guys. What do you think? We'll start with Steven. Final thoughts on today. If the team was coming over to your apartment and we're like, Steven, tell us, set us straight. What do we got to do? What would you do?
Well, I'd have to clean up first, but I would definitely tell him, the defense played well, but I think when they play defense well is also important. On those long third downs early, they were able to convert those. Those are huge momentum swings. Being able to get off the field on third down is crucial to win games. And then also, last time I was on here on Night Shift, Kyle educated me, and the most important part about winning a football game is to score the ball. So against Houston, if West Virginia can put up 45 points on Houston, then so can we. So definitely need to improve offensive, pretty simple, improve offensively and defensively.
Bryson?
I would say where's Jaden Nixon been? Because I think you need explosive plays. And I think Jaden Nixon gives you the best opportunity to do that, or at least the ones you have been using. Dwayne Thomas has actually been doing a pretty good job, but I've been seeing some solid uses of him so far. But I think you need to factor Jaden Nixon in a little bit more in some fashion, whether it's in the passing game or give him a few more carries, just something to get Jaden Nixon in, because I think he is the biggest big play opportunity you have that you're not using right now, and you need big plays if this offense is going to work.
Elo, last word.
I gotta say, get off to a good start. I don't think this is a team that's going to be able to come back if you fall behind by multiple scores. So you got to get off to good starts. Think of the West Virginia game. You got off to a good start, played from the lead. Thursday, you're at home. Come out well. Don't fall behind Houston. You do. It's good. I just don't know if they can do it. So just get off to good starts. And honestly, just delete this game. Throw it out. Just
burn the tape.
Yeah.
Burn the tape.
On the off. Yeah. And then, but that's what I'm saying. I think offensively, you got to get off to a good start, whether it's, whatever you got to do, figure out a way to help your defense play with the lead. I'd like to see this defense play. I think if this defense has the lead, they can win the game for you on, Thursday, but you got to help them, those guys. And I think that you can bounce back. And again, just like Baylor looked awful last week, this is a week-to-week sport, especially when you play at home versus on the road. So I'm not going to get overly react to well, this performance will carry over to Thursday. I think they're two different games, two different opponents, different settings, but get off to a good start.
Yeah, maybe the identity and branding change on Friday for the Space game will help do that. Yeah, at least that's what we're hoping. 8 o'clock kick on Friday night for UCF against Houston. Here's our plan for the rest of the week. Apologies for the technical difficulties earlier. Kyle's getting his column up, which you can read later today or later tonight or tomorrow morning. We will have a relatively shortened week of prep for this UCF Houston game coming up, but we will again be live for that one. Be on the lookout. Also, we're coming down the stretch for soccer and volleyball here. In fact, the Big 12 soccer championship start on Monday. Also, you know what else starts on Monday? Basketball season. UCF men against Hofstra for on the opener. So, man, it's starting to get big. We talked about the sports equinox, right? The sports equinox is happening hardcore now. So, huge thanks to Kyle. Huge thanks to Bryson, to Steven, to Eric. I'm Jeff. Let's go burn that tape. What do you say? It's a cool night out here in Central Florida. Fire up the fire pit. Toss the tape in the fire pit.
It's a fall ball, softball. That's where I'm going. Hanging out
Eric's
with
gonna go to softball. Yeah,
let's go.
Shout out to Cassidy. Yeah, and let's burn this tape and get ready for the Space game against Houston. Until then, go Knights. Charge on. We'll see you. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.